Welcome to a Founders Live Influencer Series. I'm Eric Schudiske with S2S Public Relations. Thanks for coming along on the ride today, and thank you to Schudiske, the Australian startup, for the video that you're watching right now. All right, let's begin. We're going to carve this up into three different pieces. What you're actually paying for when you pay for a press release or sending a press release. And that's what we want to discuss. Not necessarily public relations, but I want to send a press release. How do I do it? And what am I paying for? So what do you actually get when you do that? And when not to pay for PR or pay to send a press release. And then finally, when to pay for a press release and what that means and what that looks like. All right, so let's dig into what you're actually getting. So what do I get when I send a press release and why do I actually want to do that? Well, one, you might not have much name recognition currently and you just want to get on the board. We all know that the first thing that an investor does and a potential employee does and potential partners do is the same thing your mother will do when she finds out that you have a business. She's going to Google you. And so will these folks, and we want to make sure that something shows up and that something is your story and not someone else's story. So when you pay for a press release, and we'll talk about how that looks in a little bit, what you're really getting is distribution. This service that you're paying for will send that out to hundreds or potentially thousands of outlets, and some of them will pick it up. So you gotta get a guarantee that you will be somewhere on the internet and your story will be somewhere on the internet. You also get some credibility. So the sites that you most often will show up on can be sites like Yahoo Finance, can be sites like, if you're in the biological world, BioIT. So there are some really strong sites that you could then take and place those sites, the names of those sites, on your website to say, as seen in Yahoo Finance. That looks good. That looks good to an investor. That looks good to a partner. That looks great to your mom. So we like that. But there are times when you shouldn't pay for a press release. Those times include when you are propositioned by someone who sends you an email to do that, and the price tag is north of, let's say, $1,500. So we're going to kind of put a cap on what you should pay for and how much it should cost if you're a startup and you're trying to achieve some brand name SEO. So, and the credibility that goes along with it. So if someone approaches you, wants to put you in a news outlet, potentially as a freelancer, but wants you to pay them upfront for an article, that's a no-go. If it's a service that, for only $5,000 will make sure that you get guaranteed placement in X, Y, or Z, that's a red flag. So you want to make sure it's your action that is driving the press release, not necessarily someone contacting you that is driving your action to send a press release. So you want to make sure you're the prime mover in this equation. So quick recap, what you're getting, credibility and distribution. What you don't want to do is be moved by someone else who's selling you a package to guarantee you placement, because you're going to lose credibility and you're going to lose distribution. We don't know what those players are, where you're going to be placed, and really the value of that. The value of sending a press release, that's a known quantity. We're not going to make the New York Times, but we will be searchable online, which is great. And we might be able to grab some of these badges from Yahoo News or other outlets and put them on our website. So that's all great. So when to actually send a press release through a web service. And you have a few options, and they all are tiered and all have different values to them. The low end is a service called PR Web, and it's almost all automated. You're going to do some interaction with a human being via email, but very little. You'll be able to send your press release in, they will review it, you will be able to choose some key terms, and depending on how much you choose to pay, you might be able to send it to specific lists. So if you're in the science industry, you might be able to send it to science publications. If you're in the finance industry, you might be able to send it to finance. And those are all upsells. Baseline package, about $300, which isn't bad. So $300, you get your name out there, some searchability, and maybe you get to pull in some news sites. Now you start moving up the echelon and everything has add-ons. So you have Business Wire, which is going to cost you more, sub 1,000, but still north of 500. And that will have a wider distribution, more hands-on approach, and you'll be able to grab almost certainly some really nice names to put on your website. And on the top tier, you have PR Newswire, which can run up to several $1,000s depending on where you want that press release to go. And you get some really interesting metrics from all of these. Typically, press releases we send will reach 80 million people, they say, potential eyeballs. And you can get some interaction numbers, so you have some hard metrics, and we like those. So you have those options in your spectrum of when to send a press release. Now, what do you write that press release about? How do you make sure you might get additional pickup? Here's a few tips. So you want to make sure that it's an announcement. You're announcing something that's new. So a new product, you have a new company, you're disrupting an industry with your new technology. So new is a big term. We want to make sure that what you're doing is new. Partnerships also really important, especially if it's a large name that people will know, Coca-Cola, Gatorade, you name it. So you have that option too. So partnerships, anything new, and you're driving your name value. What I like to do is make sure you're going to pick a day to send the press release. A Tuesday through a Thursday is great. If you're watching this where we're home based in Seattle, you want to make sure you do that particularly early in the day because most of the world is already awake by the time our alarm clocks go off. So I like 5 a.m. 5 a.m. to send a press release. And you can schedule these, so not that big of a deal. But before you send them, I like to contact 2 or 3 publications that mean something to our clients and are places we want to be placed, like Genome Web or GeekWire or TechCrunch, and let them know, maybe just as a courtesy, that we're sending out this press release and you'd like them to have a first take at it. This means a lot to a reporter. There's an inevitability to the news going out. So you have a little bit of leverage there, especially if the new is actually new and the story is interesting. There's a lot of minutia here. I'd love to talk to you about that. If you're watching this live, we're going to talk about it in our online chat. If you're not watching this live, it's recorded, and it's 2020, the year 2020. Send me an email. I'll just look much older. The email is Eric, ERIC, at S2SPR.com. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.